What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. How about it, guys? Kellen Moore named as the New Orleans Saints' next head coach. A man who has spent a lifetime in the game. Quite the player, Kellen Moore was. Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Washington, where he threw a state record 67 touchdowns his senior year of high school. He actually set the yardage record as a junior. His father was his coach in high school. Then he goes to Boise, dominates there. Of course, I think he finishes 50-3 as a starter in his time at Boise. Finishes fourth in the Heisman as a junior. Nearly 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 6 picks. Goes to your Cowboys, Tay-Tay, and it just backs up for a few years, right? Well, it's like 5 or 6. The Wikipedia's got a weird gap year in there that I don't fully understand what went on there. And then immediately after he gets done playing, gets into coaching and kind of starts to rocket up the ranks. A few OC stops, and here we go. At just 36 years old, shout out to all my 36-year-old brethren. At just 36 years old, Kellen Moore named head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And finally, the New Orleans Saints have the guy after the guy. You know, what do we always say? You never want to follow the guy. You want to follow the guy that follows the guy. Like Sean Payton, yes, he still looms large, but not nearly to the extent that it did with Dennis Allen. And all the awkwardness there as Allen tries to prove to himself that, no, I can keep this going, but it's going to be different, but it's going to be the same. And no, full, clean, set restart here for Kellen Moore. It's a weird thing to react to because we knew the news for a while now. But, Jake, what's your reaction upon it becoming official?
I mean, you finally actually get somebody, one. I mean, that was so drawn out. But, you had to wait until Kellen Moore got done with the Super Bowl. And I think there's a lot to like about what he can do offensively and what he's done in his career. And now you just have to see, is he going to be the leader of men? Like, is he going to be able to, as the guy out there in front of the team, is he going to be able to, thrive in that situation? Is he going to be able to be somebody that can lead? Because Dennis Allen just did not. He didn't give you any confidence. And so that's going to be the thing with him because offensively, he's already had 2 top offenses in the NFL in his career in 2019 in Dallas and in 2021. And then in 2022 kind of, got back on track, even though he did have some injuries there in LA. They had another injury plagued season. Remember, they missed Justin Herbert, but still finished in the middle of the pack in the NFL. So his resume offensively is really, really good. He's done it with different quarterbacks. He's done different styles. He's done it a lot of different ways. And so that part of it is exciting. And now you just have to figure out, okay, can he lead a team? Can he put the right pieces together in the totality of the roster, not just offensively?
Yeah, and that's where, on the leadership thing, I've come around a bit. I was guilty of judging him, quite frankly, based off his face. It's a bit of a funny-looking face. I'm not even trying to be funny. I just mean that kind of sincerely. When you think about, go look at Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis celebrating the Eagles Super Bowl and think about, okay, you have to have a head coach that when they speak, those guys will listen. And it's like, okay, is that Kellen Moore? But then I think, Jake, to his time as a quarterback at Boise and the success that they had as a team. And who's the biggest leader on the team? 10 times out of 10 and almost always on a successful team? The quarterback. So I know he can do it on the college level. And then I look at the toxic situation that he took over in Philly, where everything was really bad, players sniping at one another publicly and privately, friendships falling apart. And he managed to navigate that offense, save it, and get everybody to play their best game at the biggest moment. So he's checked off the leadership boxes for me. My biggest question remains the Saints front office. If you look at why the New Orleans Saints had so much success when they hired Sean Payton 20 years ago, which just kind of feels like that a bit. Why did they have success? That 2006 draft was legendary. You got starters that lasted for years, multiple Saints Hall of Fame members. And you paired it with signing the quarterback.
Yeah.
And Drew Brees. But when you look now, there's no free agent akin to Drew Brees. Your cap situation is awful, so you won't have money to play with in free agency anyway. You either inherit Derek Carr and try to make the best of it, or you cut him, eat an unreasonable amount of dead money, don't really accrue any savings, and then still have to try to make the best of it. And not only have you not drafted particularly well in the first round as of late, but when you have drafted well, you've let guys walk. We've talked about it ad nauseum over the last couple of weeks. Bond, Hendrickson, Anzalone, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I mean, the list is long and distinguished. And so that's my question. I'm actually come around to being a bit of a Kellen Moore believer, and I like to try to emulate the success that other hires have had, be it like Sean McVay kicking off all this so many years ago, Mike McDaniel, Kevin O'Connell. Like you two have now hired a young offensive mind in his 30s to be your head coach. But you pair him with a front office that I have as little confidence as I ever have in the entirety of the multi-decade Mickey Loomis era. And so that's my big question mark. Can he find success within the parameters of a front office that seems to be continuously making mistakes as of late? And then how quick will that success come? And how patient are people willing to be? Because it really kind of saps the energy out of the room, Jake, when here we are starting an off season and you want to get excited for next year, but every conversation is like, next year's probably going to be pretty awful.
Yeah.
Maybe the year after that you'll be okay. Now the NFL can shock you, and I would love to be wrong about Mickey in the front office and about Moore, and I hope they will shock me. But it does still feel a little dark, even with the excitement of a new head coach.
No matter who the head coach was, there was going to be challenges, and there was going to be optimism that they could even have a winning record, much less like get back into the postseason because of all the challenges. And so, like, when I, kind of question, okay, like, can you lead a team? It's just because he's never done it. It's not that I don't think he can. And you mentioned what he did at quarterback, and we've also mentioned for him to go straight from being a player to a quarterback coach the next year, it kind of shows what he's thought of as far as inside those NFL circles. But no matter who took this job, there was going to be a lot of concern, and there's still going to be because of where the roster's at, and you have literally no money to spend, and you got a quarterback situation where it's going to be your big over a $50 million cap hit. It's going to be this albatross of a contract, and you don't love the quarterback anyways, and so like that's where all the questions are going to go, and those aren't going to go away. It didn't matter if you hired Bill Belichick; those are still going to be the questions. Yeah.
Now, granted, like whoever the quarterback ends up being, Moore's resume makes you feel pretty good that he can, try to maximize strengths and maybe mask weaknesses a bit there. And I will say this, Jake. At the end of all this, when you look at all the other candidates for the job, upon further reflection, and, I don't know, maybe a bit of sunshine pumping justification or something, if you take Aaron Glenn out of the offensive coordinator candidates, I actually like Moore's resume easily the best. And the Super Bowl played a big role. I'm not gonna lie. I said that yesterday, or I said that Monday. However you felt about Moore coming in, whether you liked him, disliked him, ambivalent towards him, the Super Bowl absolutely made you feel better no matter what. It's impossible not to. But also, he's worked at a lot of different stops, multiple different quarterbacks. He's been pretty successful everywhere. I love the change of pace that he pulled in Philly. And frankly, like a Joe Brady, a Cliff Kingsbury, they don't have that on their resume. And yes, all three of them are coaching great quarterbacks, but Jalen Hurts probably maybe the least great out of those three. I don't know. It's simply to say that like the Aaron Glenn thing, maybe it's a bit, but out of all the other candidates, in the end of the day, objectively, I actually think that Kellen Moore has the best resume for the New Orleans Saints. Will translate to success? I don't know. But it's a little positive food for thought.
Like if you want to compare, I don't think Aaron Glenn ever had the number one defense in the NFL.
Yeah, he didn't have a great. He never.
The numbers
really did.
actually aren't like like league leading at all.
Unfortunately, guess who was right once again? The Cannon. I was talking to him like 2 months ago, like in the middle of the college football playoffs, whatever that was. And he was talking about, I don't want Aaron Glenn. Like you said, look at the numbers.
Yeah.
They're not good. And then he's like, he's like, I want Kellen Moore. And that was when it was still all Brady and Glenn and everything else. And, well, wouldn't you know, old Bobby still got it, dude. Like, I think I'm always right. He actually is always right, which sucks as his son. Very hard to argue with. But anyway, I'm excited. If nothing else, thank God the DA era is over. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.